Well, good morning, everybody. I hope that you picked up on the fact that I was playing the happy birthday song. If you have a birthday in the month of March, get out of the shadows and let us know that so we can celebrate your birthday with you. And if you're new to the family, we can welcome you to the family. We can sing happy birthday. We can have all kinds of fun. So if you got a birthday again in the month of March, or if somehow we missed your birthday in February, doggone it, let us know that so we can celebrate a birthday with you. I'll play a couple little more birthday songs and we'll get started. It's going to be a shorter live stream today as we revisit Jacob's 328K. I finally got the package from Arkansas with the specialty cams in it, so I'm going to be showing you the fancy side of this 328K. The last time we visited this machine, we celebrated the strength through crazy sew-offs like this, crazy thick leather sew-offs, and really had a lot of fun buzzing through some heavy duty. I think we did 6 or 8 layers of denim. We did canvas. We did everything to show the power and the strength of this 328K that was made in Scotland. Today, we're going to be taking it to the delicate, pretty, fancy side. All right, a little bit more birthday music. I guess that's it for the birthday songs. I'm going to put on a little bit more music. I'm just about ready, and then we're going to jump into this, and I'll show you the package that I got from Arkansas as well. When I buy things online sometimes, and I'm sure you've had the same experience, some people selling things, whether it's Etsy, whether it's Pinterest, whether it's eBay, certain sellers have no pride in what they're doing at all. They're doing a quick transaction, they whip it into a box or a bag, and they send it off. And there's really no pride in salesmanship. I think that's a word. These folks that I got the cams from Arkansas for Jacob's machine, they got some class, and I'll show you the note they enclosed. And I was just really impressed. It reminded me of when I used to sell sewing machines on eBay more than a decade ago. How I always tried to bring that classy edge to the way I presented the machine on a YouTube video, several YouTube videos showing sew-offs, and then how I followed up after the sale with that customer to make sure that they were absolutely delighted. That's the way it should be, and very few sellers do that. They do very little follow-up after the sale. So at any rate, I just wanted to brag on these folks a little bit. I'll get to that in just a minute. But in the meantime, I'll put on some Scottish music or Irish music, since this machine has its origin in Scotland. And we'll get started shortly, okay? Yeah, thanks. All right. I hate to interrupt that beautiful Celtic type music, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. So, what I was waiting on, and it was lost in the mail for a little bit as it was coming through Knoxville, Tennessee, the package just disappeared from the radar. And then all of a sudden it reappeared again in Knoxville. And then it was promising a delivery date, which after a couple of days of waiting, it finally got here. I felt bad because this seller from Arkansas was so attentive to monitoring the tracking of the package that they said, we feel horrible that it's not arriving when it was promised. We're going to go ahead and refund your money, which I said, hold off. They refunded the money anyway. And so I ended up circling back to them and saying, let's work on a chargeback so that I can pay you since I got the stuff. It eventually showed up. So we're in negotiation on that right now. But I really wanted to honor these folks because they were just really, really top-notch sellers when it came to what they did. So what I was waiting for Jacob is I wanted to get him an owner's manual for the 328. So I've got an original owner's manual. You can see it's gotten a lot of wear, but all the contents is good. So Jacob will have an owner's manual. He'll know how to operate the machine, even though we covered that quite a bit in the live streams, the past live stream and then this one. He's also going to have basic maintenance tips and troubleshooting tips on the machine as well, if he needs that, which I don't think he will. And then an original Singer box that would have housed all of the goodies for the 328K, and it's got all kinds of various attachments in it. A single needle plate as well. Let me see if I can pull that out and show that to you. Some people like using a single needle sewing plate when they're doing straight stitching only. But again, when you've got a machine that has the capability of doing a swing zigzag or a decorative stitch, you got to be real careful about putting a plate like this on the machine, because if you forget and all of a sudden you say, "Oh, I'm going to do a zigzag," and you have the same plate on, you're going to break a needle for sure, and you're probably going to damage this plate as well. So if you like the idea of having a specialty plate like this that's only straight stitch, put a note on the machine or something so you don't forget, and you switch over to a swing or a zigzag stitch, and all of a sudden you're breaking needles, maybe damaging the needle bar or scarring the throat plate on this straight stitch only plate as well. But it's great to have them. It's great to have them because a lot of people feel like the quality of the straight stitch and the feed of the material is a little bit better when you're doing a straight stitch only plate with straight stitching only. It sounds like I'm repeating myself, doesn't it? But it's also got a couple of extra little screws for holding on the attachments. It's got a cleaning brush for cleaning out the raceway area as well, if you wanted to use a brush like that. And then all the specialty cams are really what I was after for Jacob. It's got a whole variety of specialty cams that we're going to be sewing on this machine today. So you can see all of a sudden, the last time, the whole focus of the live stream was the brute power of this 328K with that 0.95 amp motor. If you didn't watch some of the sew offs we did in the last live stream just before this one, you'll want to circle back to that and watch that live stream, because the brute force and the fury of this 328K with that huge motor it has just, I think, blew a lot of people away. I had a number of people that were in the live stream that said, "Doggone it, I'm going to go out there on Pinterest or Etsy or eBay and see if I can find me a 328K." Or maybe one of the other family members of this same type of series, like the 328J out of Canada, or the 328P out of Australia, or the 327K that is a turquoise color. And one of the folks in the last live stream was talking about having one of those turquoise machines as well that would have also come out of Scotland, even though the United Kingdom claims ownership and saying, well, it came out of the UK. Well, Scotland is really where the machine was manufactured. And if you've never seen the Scottish Singer plant before, right on the landing page of this YouTube channel, the Cow Country YouTube channel, I've got a video that runs almost an hour that walks you through the entire plant at Scotland and gives you an appreciation for the craftsmanship that went into all of these machines, including Jacob's, that were manufactured by hand to a great degree at that Scottish plant, starting in the 1800s and going for decades after that. One of the longest running Singer plants anywhere in the world. So, at any rate, a little bit more Scottish Irish music, and then we're going to get busy in showing the decorative ornamental side, not the power side today necessarily, but the decorative ornamental side of this incredible Singer 328K that's going to be going to Jacob over in Virginia, and he's going to be rekindling his love for his grandmother Sharon. I talked about her in the last live stream, and carrying on a living legacy of her love of sewing and what he saw as a little boy and how he wants to carry that forward now. I think that's really cool, honoring a grandmother that has since passed, but carrying her living legacy on through this 328K. All right, I just have to get one more sew off ready. I've got the leather ready, but I've got to get a little bit of cotton ready as well, so we can sew off on some cotton. So enjoy a little bit more music. Get to know some new folks. And it looks like we've got a real big audience on Saturday today. That's really a blessing. I'm so excited to have all of you here. And hopefully, if you're in the shadows right now, you'll decide to step out and meet some of the family and share about your sewing, share about your machines, share about the weather, share about whatever you want to share about, doggone it. All right. I'm going to pause the music real quick. I want to walk you around the machine again because some of you may not have made the last live stream. So I want to reacquaint you with this 328 again and just give you the basic lay of the land. It's a very simple machine to operate, and it shares some of the attributes of the 401 and the 401A that we featured on this channel multiple times. As a matter of fact, I wanted to get underneath the workshop and pull a 401 out so I could show you some of the commonality between this 328K, but I didn't get to it. Some of you don't know. I know some of you do know. Some of the leadership team knows for sure. Susie had eye surgery just in this last week or so, and so we've been real busy going back and forth to Corbin, Kentucky, to the Eye Institute there, and it's really put quite a bit of an extra spin in our life. Along with all the drops that need to go into her eyes as well. She's doing fine now, so don't worry. And she's going to be having the second phase of the eye surgery in about a week or so. And then she's going to be Miss Eagle Eye. Miss Eagle Eye, man, oh man, her vision has already improved so much. And to those of you that we reached out to and we asked you to pray, thank you so much for the prayers. The surgery went real well. And she's really celebrating her renewed vision. She told the doctor with tears in her eyes, I haven't had vision like this probably since I was in my 20s. So you can only imagine if you've got an eye issue and all of a sudden your eyesight is restored and you've got eyesight like you had 40 or 50 years before in your life. Wow, crazy. So, but I'll walk you around this machine again, and then I'll be getting this machine over to Jacob pretty quick, probably this week, so he can begin having a lot of fun with this machine. So I'm going to take you over, show you the front of this machine. Again, this machine would have been, let me give you a little bit of the history again on this as I show you this 328K. I've got to change my laptop screen a little bit so I can actually see what I'm showing. Okay, I've got kind of a view of it now. So this particular machine series would have been introduced. I'm trying to think. I covered this in the last live stream. Oh, goodness. What was it? I'm trying to recall. Okay, I do remember now. The 328 series would have come on the scene right around 1960, and it would have been produced for only 5 years, from 1960 until around 1965. And it was one of those, almost like when you look at the 99K series and the Spartan. Remember the Spartan that would have been made as the more economical version, the more slimmed down, the more easy to operate, easy to maintain machine. The Singer 99K was a more complex type machine, a lot more bells and whistles on it. And Singer decided to make the 192K over also in Scotland. And it was a more economy, simple, easy to operate machine, the Spartan machine. If you don't know what a Spartan is, look it up. And you can find a lot of examples of it on this channel. But the 328 series that was introduced in 1960 would have been the equivalent of introducing the Spartan in lieu of the 99K. It was a more basic, streamlined, let's get the bells and whistles off and let's just make it a great, crazy, powerful sewing machine that also can sew a number of decorative stitches that we're going to be looking at today. And if you want a little exercise in looking up a serial number, if you weren't in the last live stream, it was Leland out of Wisconsin that did some of that legwork in helping to answer some of the questions I threw out as an impromptu contest. And I'm going to throw a kind of a repeat of that today and giving you the serial number on this machine that's going to be going to Jacob. So if you want to look it up and you want to reach out after the live stream, I'll go ahead and send you something special, just like I did with Leland. And if we somehow missed you in the last live stream, if you did some of that legwork of looking up some stuff in the impromptu contest that I threw out in the last live stream and you didn't get acknowledged, doggone it, reach out and get acknowledged so I can mail you off something special. I don't want you to get involved and then not get recognized. Okay. So if you were involved in the last live stream and we somehow missed you and you were one of those people that answered some of those questions, doggone it, hang your name up on the shingle and let's get you recognized today. Okay. And also if it's your birthday in the month of March, I played the birthday song a couple times at the beginning of this live stream. I've got the camera all over the place here. I'm like, hey, look at me. I'm all over. But if you were involved in that last live stream and answering some of the questions, then let's get you recognized, okay? And here's a machine that is partially torn apart. You can see that right here. This machine is going to be going to New Mexico real soon. It's going to be going to New Mexico, and I'm going through a lot of work. I just finished rewiring the motor yesterday. This is the motor assembly, a potted motor for one of these incredible machines. Does anyone recognize this machine? Does anyone recognize what it might be? I'll tell you that it's the little brother to the 201-2. It has a potted motor just like the 201, but it's a smaller version of the 201, isn't it? It's almost 3/4 size. Kind of a 3/4 size machine, isn't it? If anyone knows what this machine is, type it in the live chat. Yeah. So I'm real busy right now. I'm working on this particular machine that's going to New Mexico. This one's going to be going out to Missouri, I believe it is. This one's going to be staying pretty close to home in Virginia. So a lot of stuff happening right now in the workshop. And there's other machines that are off camera as well that I'm working on at the same time. So anyway, real basic, simple machine to operate. Stitch length over here, both in inches and also in millimeters as well. That's kind of a common thing with machines that are coming out of the UK, Scottish region. They rely on the metric system quite a bit, don't they? And here we have a real basic bobbin winder. There's no kickback spring in it. You just rotate it down to the wheel, disengage the clutch on the side, and you can wind a bobbin very quickly. Needle position here. Here we've got our selection for stitch width. And when we're straight stitching, we're going to have it all the way to the left over on 0 and over to somewhere between 1 and 4 if we're going to be sewing a zigzag or one of the decorative stitches as well. And I'll show you today as we're changing out those cams, every time you're going to remove one of those cams from the machine, almost like the Swedish machines, you're going to take this stitch width all the way down to 0 so that that cam reader finger is retracted and you're not forcing that cam past that reader finger and potentially going to damage that mechanism in the machine. And then you'll be out of luck. All you'll be doing is straight stitching. You won't be able to zigzag. You won't be able to do any of the decorative stitches if you force a cam out of the machine and you damage that mechanism. And I'll show you a closer look of that when we go into there to do that. Now, on our stitch length, for a lot of the stitching we would do on this machine, we would probably be down in the 6 to 8 stitches per inch area, right about down in that range right there. But when we're going to be doing our decorative stitching in this live stream today, we're going to be going all the way up into the fine region, so around 20 to 30 stitches per inch, and we're going to be moving it all the way up to here, right in that area. We'll screw that in so it kind of stays there because we're going to be using that quite a bit today, right around 25 to 30 stitches per inch, nestled right in that little area there. Yeah. Other than that, we've got an upper tension over here with that check spring that's going to be swinging. I'm going to show you in another live stream how to tear this one down. It's exactly the same upper tension that's going to be on the 401 and the 401A. The 401 and the 401A. So you'll be able to take that information when I demonstrate that and take it across a wide spectrum of Singer machines that use this same upper tension unit. Yeah. So let's see here. I'll go up here first, I think. We'll go ahead and open up the hood on the bus here. So I showed you in the last live stream, if you want to do a more detailed service on the 328, you can also do a more detailed service on the sister machines that were made in Australia and Canada that share the same internal mechanisms as this 328K. All you have to do is take out a bolt right there and a bolt right there, and trying to get my finger looking over my shoulder at the same time, right there. And this whole top of the machine comes off. That way, if you want to do a more detailed service and maintain the machine, you take out that bolt right there, that bolt right there. Where is it? That bolt there, that bolt there. And the whole top comes off. And there's all kinds of areas to service on here that require grease and also oiling. And again, the simple rule, because the owner's manual over here is not going to really give you the depth of understanding that I've given you in maintaining and servicing machines. The simple rule is that if you take off the top of a machine like this and you gently rock the balance wheel, if you see something pivoting, pitching, or rotating, it's going to require either grease or it's going to require oil, some sort of oil mixture. I use an oil kerosene mixture, and it works well to keep the machine lubricated longer, and it also prevents rust as well. And rust is a real issue in certain regions that are a little bit more humid, like Florida, Louisiana, probably the Carolinas. All of those areas, and even here in Kentucky, we're getting a lot more humid. So you've got to do preventive maintenance to keep your machine from getting rusting issues in it. And the rust is just like on cars, is going to start deep inside of your machine like a cancer. You're not even going to see it. And then all of a sudden, your machine will start slowing down. It'll start struggling. It'll start making groaning and moaning sounds. And all of a sudden, you're fighting a battle of trying to eradicate that rust that could have been stopped before it ever started. And that's why I always, with my lubrication on a machine that's in the workshop, I always use a mixture of crystal clear sewing machine oil, because there's no color additives to it. It doesn't stain. It doesn't leave a residue behind. And then I add a little bit of kerosene to that so that that kerosene will extend the lubrication duration, and also will put a field of protection on all the medical, on all the metal parts inside of that machine, all the medical metal parts inside of that machine. We're doing triage, aren't we? That's probably why I spit out the word medical, is because when we service our machines properly, we're doing a triage in preventive care on them, aren't we? To keep them from ever developing rust issues. And that's why it's so important. So right now I've got one of these cams in there, and you can see I've taken our stitch width down to 0 already. So now I can safely remove it by just turning this thumb screw right here, turning it, and then I can go ahead and remove it from the machine. And then you'll grab on the left side, right about where the number is. This is going to be a number 5, and you just lift it up gently from the edge, and then it can come out of the machine fairly easily. And there are lubrication points right here on the stem that feeds that reader for the zigzag and any of the decorative type stitches. And you'll want to periodically, I'll demonstrate it right now, you want to periodically put just a couple of drops of oil down this stem, and it will keep that mechanism running very smoothly. This is also our reader finger right underneath the housing right here. And what I usually do, if I'm not going to take, I've already had the lid off and done all the proper maintenance on Jacob's machine, but as a quick solution, you can also take a spritzer like this that's used for essential oils. You can take a spritzer similar to this that's used for essential oils, and you can go from an angle like this, and also periodically, without having to take off all of the top of the machine, you can just spritz a little bit of oil in the area of that mechanism. And then if you have a little bit of excess, you can go ahead and just swab it off using a couple of Q-tip swabs, because you don't want to leave a lot of excess oil on there either, because it'll become a source of collecting dirt and dust. So if you spray it like that, just as a quick little supplemental lubrication in between more detailed servicing that you're going to be doing on the machine, just wipe off that excess and get that area, because there's going to be still a residue on there, and the rest of the oil will wick around in this area where the mechanism is and keep it running real smoothly. There we go. Just a quick little re-lubrication on there to keep it running nicely. So as we go to put a cam on there, we can choose any of these cams. We've got, let's see if I can move them over here. We got like an arrow cam here, 3-point zigzag it kind of looks like. And we've got another decorative cam here. I'm not going to try to name them because you guys know I make up my names anyway. But these are all the decorative ones that we have. And maybe I can let the audience pick some of them. We'll kind of put them in some sort of a rank order here. Yeah, kind of like that. And I do have some more cams on order as well for this machine that haven't arrived yet. And there may be some duplication, but that's okay. I'm sure I'll use them on another machine that uses this type of cam. It's going to be it's called a Type A cam. These are Type A cams that are used in a variety of different Singer machines, especially the 328 series, the 327K series as well. So check these out. And if you have a particular one you want to see, we'll kind of count them like this. We won't go necessarily by the number because the number is kind of hard to read on these. It is for me anyway. So we'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if you have a particular one you want to see, you can just pick it out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'll get real close so you can see what they are. So cam number 1 is going to have this stitch pattern on it. There it is. That's kind of an interesting stitch pattern. Number 2 is going to have this stitch pattern. Number 3 is going to have this stitch pattern. There it is. Number 4 is going to have this stitch pattern. Number 5 is going to have this stitch pattern. Number 6 is going to have this stitch pattern. Aha, that looks like a zigzag, doesn't it? Number 7 is going to have this stitch pattern. And number 8 is going to have this stitch pattern. Yeah. So hopefully that gives you an idea of the cams that we're going to be working with today. Cam 1 again. Where is it? There it is. Cam 1, Cam 2, Cam 3, Cam 4, 5, Cam 6, Cam 7, and Cam 8. And I'm hoping to get probably 3 to 5 more cams that I'll be able to give to Jacob so he can have even more decorative ornamental stitching options. But if he gets bored with that, he can always go back to heavy duty sewing. Remember, we did all of these on the last live stream, including this hardened leather as well. So the heavy duty side, the decorative ornamental side, this 328K really gives you so much choice when it comes to what you want to do as far as sewing, whether it's heavy duty or whether it's, more like quilting edges and that sort of thing. The machine can do it all. Really a wonderful, wonderful machine. Okay, what was I working on? It looks like we've got a vote for a couple of them. Cam number 1, cam number 8. So we'll do cam 1 and 8 first. Hopefully I keep them in the right order, huh? Cam 1 and 8. So I'm going to grab cam 1. Yep, this is cam 1. And we're going to go ahead and insert that one, and then we'll go finally all the way to cam 8, this last one over here. Okay, so to insert it, you got a little pin right here. You can see that. You're just going to put the pin right through that little hole on the opening, and then just gently seat it into place so it gets seated. And again, the reason that we've got it on 0 right now is because if we didn't have it on 0, if we had it somewhere between 1 to 4 on the stitch width, then the problem, I can't even see my screen. Where's my screen? Okay, I see. I moved it back again. We don't want to have this anywhere other than 0 when we're putting a cam in or taking a cam out, because otherwise what it's going to do, it's going to press this reader finger into the cam, and then we'll be forcing to try to get the cam past it to insert it or get the cam out to pull it out. So by putting it on 0, this will move out of the way, and we can go ahead and put our little thumb screw back on to secure it back into place. Yeah. Screw it all the way down. You can go ahead and close the lid again. We'll go ahead and put our thread back up on top. And we're using our standard Coats & Clark dual duty XP thread. I've got to set the camera down because right now I'm like trying to do this with one hand. It's a little bit tricky. All right. So we've got our thread back up on. Now what we have to do is we've already got our stitch length set in the fine region so we can do these decorative stitches. But now we have to remember to move our stitch width back. And I like to go wide because it really gives that pattern a chance to demonstrate the fullness of itself. So I'm going to move this now all the way back to 4. So we've got the widest setting and we've got one of the shortest settings on stitch length. And now we're going to do it. Why don't we do it on leather first? and then we'll do it on cotton second. And we'll go through all 8 of these so you can see all of them represented on cotton, represented on leather, and really just appreciate. So many of you were so excited about the power of this machine the last time. Now you can be excited, if I can point the camera the right way, you can be excited about the decorative ornamental side of this 328K. It really is a wonder of a machine in being able to go from crazy heavy duty to the most delicate ornamental stitching that you could possibly want out of any sewing machine. Okay, so let me put the camera down. I think I'll put the camera all the way up on the workbench again so that I'm not rocking and rolling this thing. Where is it? There we go. And we'll do cam 1 first, and then we'll go over to cam 8, and then I'll work us through all the other cams on each of the materials. Again, we're not going to be running super long today, and that's okay. I just wanted to fulfill the promise of showing the other side of this machine. Not only is it muscular and strong, it's also pretty as well. Pretty and also, yeah, pretty. I'll just leave it at pretty. All right, leather first. And the needle I'm working with is my standby needle, as you might guess. It's going to be a 9014 universal needle. A universal needle is not going to have the sharpest point on it. It's more of a rounded point because it's designed to go through a wide field of materials, including woven materials. So when we're sewing with a machine like this on leather, and we're just going through it like it's a hot knife going through butter, it gives you an idea of how strong this machine is after going through all the workshop magic and being fully optimized. It just has raw grit power now. And it's so much fun to sew with it because it just doesn't hesitate at all. All right, so cam number 1 first, and then we're going to do cam number 8, and then we're going to go through all the other cams. All right, are you ready? All right, here we go. Let's see if I can get my big size 12, 13 shoe on this little button down below. All right, I'm trying. Hold on. Almost got it. Almost got it. All right, here we go. Cam number 1, it has a totally different number on it, but it should be fun to lay down. Here we go. I'd like to say that was easy because it was. That was really, really easy. So here's our stitching that we just did. I'm actually going to tighten it up even a little bit more. Go even a little bit shorter on that. I just don't want to go into reverse. Yeah, so that's cam number 1. I think you can see that in the shot. Yeah, sort of. I'll see if I can clip it as well, but we'll do it on cotton as well so we can see the comparison. And then we'll look at the stitching on both of the materials at the same time, or about the same time. Yeah, that's our leather. Oh, heck, I'll show it to you now. That's our leather. I've got to just see the screen on the laptop. Hold on a second. Yeah, very nice. Very, very nice. So again, we're taking a machine that otherwise would be only a straight stitch machine, and we're giving it the capability to do decorative ornamental stitching and also zigzag stitching as well. Now let me try laying that down on cotton as well. We'll just see how the stitch presents on cotton versus leather. Because as you change between materials, depending on your setup, the type of thread you have, depending on the type of needle you're using, the way that stitch presents will change. So we'll see how it looks now as we go over from leather to cotton, laying down exactly the same stitch that we just did on leather. All right, here we go. Big foot on little button. Boy, this is fun. Here we go. Initially, I didn't have the material far enough underneath the presser foot, and it wasn't feeding. So I had to just give it a very real little gentle nudge to get it moving across the feed dogs. And that happens sometimes if you don't get it all the way underneath the presser foot. All right. So now we'll look at the cotton with this decorative stitch. And then we're going to move over to cam 8. I'm calling it cam 8, but I think it's actually got a cam 8 actually has a number 6 on it, I think. I can't tell if it's a 6 or a 9. So this is our cotton material now using this decorative cam 1, I'm calling it. We'll kind of go across here so you can see that. Waiting for the camera to focus. There we go. And again, if you change different types of threads, if you change from a standard Coats & Clark dual duty XP thread, or if you change to a specialty needle, say an embroidery needle, you're going to get different results, obviously. So realize that we're doing kind of a generic sew off here using a standard needle, a universal needle, using a standard or a more standardized type thread. And the results you get on your 328, or if you've got one of the other flavors of it, the 327K, the turquoise one, or the 328P, or the 328J, you may get totally different results. And they might be better results because needles make a difference when you're sewing on certain materials. So this will give you an idea at least of what the cam output might look like if you do the same thing on your machine. Okay? But some really, really beautiful sewing on this initial cam sew off between the leather and also the cotton. And they do vary slightly, don't they, as you look at them side by side. Where am I? I'm somewhere over here. There they are. Leather and cotton. I like the way it presents better on the leather, don't you? I'm just really fond of leather. I love the way leather presents. Okay. So I also wanted to give you, I realize now I never did it. I never gave you the serial number for Jacob's machine. So you could go through the task of looking it up. And if you want to repost it in the live chat, go ahead and do that. So the serial number on Jacob's machine is E like Echo, T like Tom, 771144. So again, that's Echo Tango ET, just like the classic movie ET, the alien, ET 771144. So look that up and give us the full birth date. Give us the production group size of the machine as well, because that's a big factor. I say it all the time. If you have a machine that was produced in a production group size of less than 50,000, your machine has a greater rarity to it because the fewer the machines, the more rare that machine becomes. So give us the full birth date, give us the production group size. You already know the machine was made in Scotland, so you don't need to figure that one out. And then go ahead and post that in the live chat. If you're the first one to do it, reach out afterwards and I'll send you something special, just like I just sent something off to Leland out in Wisconsin. Okay? Yeah. All right. So as I'm changing out the cam now from cam 1 to cam 8, I'm going to go ahead and put on a little bit more music as an interlude, get a little bit of a sip of tea, and we'll go ahead and move forward. All right, a pause on the music real quick. So let's go ahead and change this cam out now. And it's nothing horribly scientific, but you've got to get in the habit. It's called muscle memory, isn't it? As you do something over and over and over again, it becomes muscle memory. You do it automatically without even thinking about it. So the first thing we have to do is, well, the first thing I did is I took the thread off, obviously, and then we have to open the lid. But before we do anything up here, we've got to do something down here. We've got to take that stitch width all the way down to 0 so that that reader finger is released from the cam and it's not pressing against that cam stack. So we take this all the way down to 0. And now we can remove this thumb screw and take out the cam safely without damaging the mechanism or, just forcing it. We don't want to force it. So I'm going to go ahead and unscrew that, set that right there. Go ahead and just gently lift up that cam number 1. Put that back over here. Now we're going to grab cam number 8. This one right here. Go ahead and put that into place. Get it rotated around so that that little pin comes through the opening on the cam right there. Trying to do this with one hand, it's a little bit more awkward. Aha. There we go. So now we have what I'm calling cam number 8, which has a totally different number on it. We'll go ahead and put our little thumb screw back in place. And just make sure it's seated all the way down. There we go. And you don't have to crank it, just get it snug, because all we want to do is make sure that it turns evenly as the machine is operating, okay? Get that turned back down. And we need to move our stitch width back to 4 so that that reader finger on that mechanism can read that cam that we just put in. And I might adjust this down just a little bit more. Lock it in place. All right, so now we're going to be doing cam number 8, as I'm calling it. We'll do it on leather, then we'll do it on cotton. There it is. Okay. All right, and I'm going to do it to some Irish music, right? A little bit of Scottish Irish music. Oh, I don't have it far enough in again. So I did the same thing. I thought I had it far enough in, but it's not all the way underneath the presser foot. So now I need to lift that up just gently, make sure the needle is clear of it. There we go. I've got to push that material a little bit deeper underneath that presser foot. Otherwise, those feed dogs aren't grabbing it. All right, let's try this again. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. I'm going to put this on pause. Oh, I see what it is. Okay. So it was not I'm going to correct myself, because oftentimes when you get this result right here, I'm going to show it to you up close. When you get that result, it's oftentimes a feed issue. And this is also a feed issue, but remember I decided to adjust the stitch length a little bit shorter. I moved it too far. And So what we have now is we've got the stitching so tight as it's trying to execute this pattern that it's not advancing the material fast enough, and it's creating a mess. It's a beautiful mess, but it's creating a mess on the leather. So I've got to go back to the stitch length now. I've got to go back to my original setting so it's not quite as tight on that stitch length, and then we should have good feed factor again. Okay, so I'm going to do that right now. It's never fun in a live stream to all of a sudden have something happen that you're not expecting to have happen, right? But I always say it, and you all know this about me. I'm a teacher, and I'm known around the world for the teaching on sewing machines and all of that, but I'm also a student. We're all students, aren't we? Sometimes a teacher, always a student. And so here, my initial assumption was that I probably didn't have it all the way underneath the presser foot. And that leather, it's got a little bit of a slick back it doesn't have a real thick nap. You can see that. It doesn't have a real dense snap. So there's not a lot for those feed dogs to grab. But I was wrong. What I had done is I tried to push the machine further than it wanted to be pushed, with setting that stitch length a little bit too short so that it couldn't execute this pattern. This is our lock stitch on the bottom. Isn't that gorgeous? It's our lock stitching on the bottom. But realize sometimes it is an issue of the feed by the presser foot. Sometimes it's an issue of you're trying to execute a sewing pattern that requires just a little bit more room. It needs a little bit more space to execute that pattern. So if you push it too far, you get that little ball of wax that we had on top, that little mess. If you adjust it back just slightly, all of a sudden that feed is spot on, and you get a beautiful outcome like this. Yeah, very, very nice. All right, back to music and back to getting our next pattern ready. All right, I misspoke. Before we go to our next pattern, I've got to do the same pattern. Cam number 8, I believe it was. We got to do cam number 8 and do it on cotton as well. Okay, I got ahead of myself a little bit. So let's do cotton now, and we'll do our cam number 8 pattern, and then we'll move to another cam after that. Okay, all right. So same cam, just a different material now. All right, here we go. we go. Okay, so this is again what I'm calling cam number 8. When I take it out, I'll see if I can read the actual number on it so I don't totally goof people up, because then they're going to be going through their type A cams and they're going, well, I don't have a cam that matches up with the one that Scott was showing. That's because I'm making up my own numbers, right? I'm making up my own numbers. So this is what I'm calling cam 8. And now we did it on cotton. And you might have seen me cutting this near the beginning because I didn't have it quite ready yet. What I use whenever I'm going to be doing a decorative ornamental stitch, you have to have some sort of a stiffener to allow that stitch to be defined well. If you don't use some sort of a stiffener, whether it's the melt away stuff, the tear off stuff, or the stuff that I use, which is almost like a buckram stiffener, if you don't use some sort of a stiffener, the clarity of that stitch is not going to be as good as it should be. So I use that stiffener when I'm using this type of decorative stitching because it just gives us a much, much more beautiful stitch as it should be, right? And the same thing happens if you're sewing a stitch like this on a purse or something like that. You're going to have some sort of a backing on it that's going to give the stability to support the complexity of what that stitch is trying to display. The movement of the needle to create a stitch like this or like that, if I could get close to it with a camera and show you what that needle is doing to execute it, you would be absolutely blown away. It's got to do so many rapid shifts and movements to generate a stitch like this with a cam. It needs that extra support to give that clarity of stitch. Okay, so let's get closer. We'll take a look at this one that we just did. Yeah, very, very nice. Beautiful stitching. Turn it over, look at the lock stitching as well. We've got it kind of upside down, but that's okay. You get the idea. So you can see by the clarity of the stitch and the presentation of the stitch, the machine is running just absolutely spot on right now. It's executing stitching that is exactly as it should be. And that's an evidence of the servicing of the machine and the mechanism. So if you pick up a 328K or one of the similar ones on eBay or Etsy or Pinterest, you may not get this level of clarity in the stitching because that mechanism may not be adjusted properly. That mechanism has to be adjusted properly to execute stitching at this level. Really quite lovely, really quite lovely. So now we're ready to move from cam 8, which is not really cam 8, it's a different cam. And the only other thing I didn't point out on the back as we're looking at the lock stitching, you see that real subtle puckering right there? That real subtle puckering? That means that our presser foot pressure is too heavy. So if you get that on your material when you're sewing in your own sewing space, and you're like, why am I getting that puckering on the back of the material? You know, did the material shift? Did I not feed it properly? Was I pushing it? Was I pulling it? What happened? What did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. It's simply that your presser foot pressure is set too high, and that can be solved very easily by adjusting it right here on this 328, right there. We've got to turn it a couple of turns counterclockwise, and then that puckering will slowly go away. The only thing we run into is we have to be mindful that we're not just sewing cotton, we're also sewing leather as well, which is going to require a little bit more presser foot pressure, right? So when we're sewing a wider field of materials, we've got to sometimes accept that puckering as a trade-off for getting good feed, for getting proper feed across those feed dogs and underneath that presser foot. And we could always, on a 328 like this, it's not going to be a slant shank like its sister, the 401 or the other Slant-O-Matic series. It's going to be a straight type shaft, and it's going to be a low shank. It's not going to be a high shank either. So there are a lot of roller feet and even walking feet that would fit on this machine that will give you even better feed. But as you're working with different machines, just make sure that if you get a new attachment that you want to try, before you engage that foot controller, especially with a robust motor like this one being 0.95 amps. Always gently turn that balance wheel and check for clearance, and check to make sure that that attachment is working properly with your machine before you engage that foot controller. You could save yourself damaging your machine or breaking a needle unnecessarily or damaging that throat plate. So always check for clearance, check for that particular attachment is working properly. Okay. And if I didn't mention it already, I don't think I did. This particular machine, and if someone looked it up, thank you for doing that as far as the date of birth and the production group size, etc. But if I didn't already talk about it, this particular 328 is not made on the outside by steel. So it's lightweight, it's portable, it's actually made out of aluminum. It's an aluminum-based machine, which is great when it comes to the weight factor of it. A lot of the machines, we describe them as boat anchors. This one, you can pick it up with one hand, and it's only a couple of pounds heavier than even a half-size machine like the featherweight. Featherweight comes in around 11 pounds. This is right around 15 pounds. So it's really quite a light machine compared to a lot of the other vintage machines. Moving it from one table to another is a breeze. Carrying it in a carrying case, it's not going to make you feel like one arm is getting longer than the other. It's easy to move around, and that's really quite a plus. And also, whenever you're working with a specialty metal like aluminum or magnesium, I've talked about some of the rotary machines that were made with a magnesium material, which is even lighter than aluminum. That really pushes the cost of production up on that machine. So the value of a machine that's made out of aluminum or magnesium, in my opinion, is going to raise that value of the machine intrinsically as well, and also the dollar amount of that machine. It's a lot harder to manufacture aluminum or magnesium compared to metal. It takes specialty tooling as well. So a 328K like this, or its other components, the 327K that came out of the Scotland plant as well, the 328J that would have come out of Canada, or the 328P that would have come out of Australia. Those are all aluminum manufactured machines, much more valuable from a material standpoint than a standard steel machine. So you need to know that, right? You need to know that value of that machine is quite a bit higher because of what they chose to manufacture it out of, right? All right, a little bit more music as I take another sip of tea. And Susie she's such a sweetheart in so many ways, and she'll prep a granola bar for me or something like that. She'll prep some tea. She'll give me a Diet Coke. Well, today I've got to poke Susie lovingly and say, "Sweetheart, you didn't put any sweetener in the tea." Yeah, yeah. I can't drink tea without sweetener, so I'm going to the Diet Coke now. I'm going to the Diet Coke. But thank you for the tea anyway, sweetie. Thank you for the tea anyway. All right, a little bit more music as I get a sip of Diet Coke. I'm trying to see if I can show you the actual number on the can that we just sewed with so that you know what it is. Let me see if I can get real close to it. So I don't know if that's a 9 or a 6. I think it's a 9. Does that look like a 9 to you all? Let me do it like this. Oh, wrong one. Hold on. So that's the actual number that's on the cam. I'm calling it cam number 8, and I can't quite see on the laptop screen, but I think it looks like a 6 or a 9. Whatever y'all think. You can type it in the live chat if you think you can see it better on your screen. So that's the actual cam that we just did right there. Yeah, probably a 6 or a 9, right? I'll put it back there. All right, so now let's go through some of these other cams. I think I'll go for this one right now. I'm calling it cam number 2, but it's actually labeled cam number 10. Cam number 10 right there. Let me see if I can get up here, give you a closer view of it. So I'm calling it cam 2, but it's actually cam 10, labeled cam 10. So let's do this one next. This looks like a fun one to try. We'll get this one installed as well. Line it up on that little pin. And to be honest with you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter from a functional standpoint whether you put the cam facing this way or whether you put the cam facing this way. It's going to read the cam the same way, regardless of which way you put it. But it seems to make sense to me. You'll want to put it with a pattern facing up. That way you remember what pattern you have in the machine, because you can see the pattern right there. You can kind of see the pattern right there. Yeah, cam number 10. I'm calling it cam number 2. We'll totally confuse everybody, right? We'll totally confuse everybody. So I'm now going to put our little thumb screw back in to hold this in place. And again, don't ratchet it down. Just snug it. Just snug it up. You can go ahead and close the lid again. We'll put our thread back up on top. There we go. I think I wound it one-handed pretty well. We're going to take our stitch width back to 4. We'll leave our stitch length exactly where it is. I don't want to go too short again, because then I'm not going to get the proper feed as it's trying to execute that cam pattern. We're going to have another mess. So I'm going to go ahead and put the camera down. We'll go ahead and do this next pattern now on leather, and also do it on cotton as well. Okay? Very, very nice stitching. I'm going to go ahead and set this just right here by the cams, and I'll go do the leather, and then we'll look at the two of them together, okay? All right, a little bit of leather. And this is genuine cowhide. I don't think I mentioned that. This is genuine cowhide that we're doing right now. All right, here we go. All right, let me stop that music for a moment. And we'll go ahead and look at these side by side. We'll look at the top stitching first, and then we'll look at the lock stitching second. I'm going to adjust my laptop screen real quick so I can see, hopefully, what you're seeing. So this again is, I think I said cam 10 is what it is technically, but I'm calling it cam number 2. I've got a little list. I'm kind of checking them off so that I make sure that I cover all the cams. So we're going to look at all 3 columns that we've done so far, cotton versus leather, and see what we think of the stitching. All right, let me get it like that. Yeah, very, very nice. So that again is our top stitching. Lovely, lovely stitching. I'll come back a little bit so you can see all of them in totality. We turn it over, look at the lock stitching now. It's not there. No, I'm just kidding. There it is. I got to position it like that. So here's our lock stitching on the leather, our lock stitching on the cotton. See if I can hold that like this, and we'll go look at those as well. And again, we could get different results if we use an embroidery needle. And yes, you can sew with an embroidery needle on leather. I've done it before numerous times. You can definitely use an embroidery needle. We've even used a quilting needle to sew leather with as well. Yeah, very, very nice. And then again, is our lock stitching. So we haven't had any issues at all in the previous live stream or in this live stream with maintaining some absolutely spectacular stitching as far as that tension balance. Well, sometimes you'll battle it as you're going between different materials, as you're changing between threads, whatever it is. Sometimes you'll wind up bobbin, a new bobbin, and you wound it a little bit off, and then all of a sudden you'll have issues with the clarity of the stitch and the quality of the stitch. But that's definitely not the case with us. We're getting some great results on the leather and also on the cotton as well with these 3 cam generated stitches that we've done so far. And I believe this is, I'm calling it cam 2, but it's actually technically cam 10, but some beautiful stitching. So I'm going to go and check off cam 2. We've done that now. And now we're going to move to cam 3, what I'm calling cam 3. This one right here. Let's see. There it is. This cam right here. It looks like an arrow type stitch. And the actual number on this is not a cam 3. It's labeled looks like a cam 5. Let's see if I can get real close to it and show you on the camera. This is the one that we're going to be doing next. See if I can get it next to the camera there. So what I'm calling cam 3, just because of the sequential order that I put the cams on the table on, this is technically cam number 5. And again, these are called a type A cam. If you're looking for them on Etsy, on Pinterest, and make sure that it's going to be like this one here. Same opening here for the pin and the overall dimensions of it. We can do that real quick. Let me grab my caliper. Overall dimensions of the cam, if you want to just compare it to what you have, we'll kind of measure it like this at the widest point. Yeah, right about there. So that is going to be, let me see if I can read it, 28 plus 20. It's going to be right around 48 millimeters, between 48 to 50 millimeters, because I did it kind of quick. But between 48 to 50 millimeters as far as the circumference width of this cam. And again, it's a type A cam. If you're buying it from a particular seller, just make sure it's compatible with one of the models that I named already, whether it's the 328K, the 328J, the P, or the 327K. It's got to be compatible with one of those. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and insert this one now because we've gone through all 3 of these already. We'll take our thread off. Open up our hood. Again, before we touch this, we got to touch this. Take it all the way down to 0. Take it all the way down to 0. There we go. Now we're going to go up here. We'll take out that little thumb screw, and I'll get our next cam into place. And this, this requires a little bit more effort. It's not like the 401 or some of the other Slant-O-Matic series that share some of the attributes of this 328K. With those, you move a lever or you move a dial and you can set the stitch. This one, you've got to do a little bit more labor. You've got to take that cam out and you've got to put another cam in, but that's okay. Gives you a break, to think about your next project or so. All right. Just checking my list here. I just put that in the wrong spot. There we go. That's 2 actually. Okay. So now I'm going to put this cam in. It's number 5, but I'm calling it number 4, I think. I have no idea. Let me put this next cam in. We'll get this one into place. I should stick with one number. I got multiple numbers, and the people are going to send me comments and say, wait a second, was that cam C or cam A, or was that cam 3, or was that cam 5? Or we're going to make an arrow. Just know we're going to make an arrow, okay? We're going to make an arrow, or an arrow design anyway. All right. Close that hood. Rotate this thread. Let me set the camera down for a second so I can rotate the thread. Get that lined up again. Now we're going to take our stitch width back to 4. I like to do it on 4. You could do it on 3. You could do it on 2. You could do it on 1. But your pattern's going to look really cramped and kind of bunchy unless you give it enough space for that needle to move. That's why I go to 4. It gives that needle swing boundary a wider field to create that stitch. We'll leave our stitch length exactly where it is. I'm not going to goof around with that again and mess it up. So I'll leave that alone. And yeah, we're ready to do our next pattern, which I think is going to be pattern. I'm calling it pattern 3, but I believe the cam was labeled pattern 5. I'll just stick with my patterns. All right. I got them totally out of order now. Oh, good Lord. Holy gummy bears, Batman. I think I got them all out of order now. Oh, well, we'll see what we create. All right, let me do an arrow pattern now. We'll start it on cotton, and then we'll move it over to leather after that. See that? I got a joke with Susie a little bit, and I'm saying this with a big smile. If you don't put sweetener in my tea, it just throws me off completely. Throws me off completely. Ah! All right. So let's do this next one. It's going to be an arrow type pattern. We'll do it on cotton, and then we'll do it on leather after that. All right, here we go. Slow down, buddy. Slow down. Slow down. Slow down. All right. So here's our arrow pattern. And we'll do it on leather next, and then we'll take a look at both of them side by side. All right, let me set the cotton back there, and we'll do the leather next. And I talked about it in the last live stream. When you're looking at sewing machines, when you plug a sewing machine in, you probably don't think about this. But when you plug a sewing machine in, the first place that electricity is going to travel to is going to be the foot controller. And then after the foot controller, it gets fed into the motor from there. So when you're looking at a sewing machine and how it operates, how that motor responds to the foot controller, because again, the gateway to the electricity is the foot controller, and then it feeds it to the motor. On this particular machine, for whatever reason, when they built it in Scotland, I talked about this in the last live stream, for whatever reason, they decided to match it up with a standard foot controller like you would have on most of the Singer sewing machines. It's going to be that Bakelite foot controller, similar to this one. This one happens to be black. This one happens to be black. And the one that I have with this one is going to be beige, but they're the same foot controller, basically. You got that little pedal that you have to push to activate. Let me change my screen again. I can't see what y'all are seeing. Okay, there. Now I can see it. So yeah, it's got that little pedal. It's got this little rest for your foot so you can kind of push it down, that sort of thing. And then on the back, it's got a nomenclature plate here that tells you all the specs of the foot controller. So if I bring it down like this, you'll be able to see that a little bit more clearly. So if you look at the specs on this foot controller, what is this foot controller rated up to as far as amperage? You'll see it on the left side of the screen. What is this foot controller rated for from amperage standpoint? It's got a variance as far as volts, but then it's got a specific thing as far as amps. Can any of you see that? The amperage on this foot controller is 0.7 amps. 0.7 amps. Our motor is rated at 0.95 amps, which means technically, with this being the gateway to the motor, because the electricity flows through here and then it flows from here into the motor, this foot controller is actually about 0.2 of an amp to 0.025 amps less than what it should be rated at. You want to have the foot controller rated as high as the motor or higher, so that it's like turning a bottle upside down. Have you ever done that? You turn a bottle upside down, and as that air is trying to escape, the liquid kind of hesitates. You know what I mean? You turn the bottle upside down, and if you turn it totally upside down, the bottle kind of hesitates in releasing that liquid because the air is trying to be released as the liquid is flowing out, and they kind of catch each other. They kind of bog down against each other, and it slows down. If you turn the bottle on the side, the liquid flows right out because it's not that gravity factor where the liquid is trying to force its way past as the air is escaping from the bottle. I hope that makes sense. So my point is, the people at Singer are probably doing it for a reason. Hopefully it's not just for convenience. They're probably doing it for a reason, that they would have matched a foot controller rated at 0.7 amps to a motor that's 0.95. But in my book, it's not the best match, because what it does is that electricity flows into this foot controller, and that hungry motor is demanding that electricity from the foot controller. The foot controller can't keep up with the motor because the motor's wanting to pull 0.95 amps, or really when it's peaking, almost a full amp. And this little guy right here is saying, wait, I can't keep up. Because it can only max out at 0.7, and the motor's trying to pull 0.95 amps, or maybe an amp. So what I would have done, if I had been the voice of reasoning in Scotland, talking to those folks, and they were saying, well, what foot controller should we match with this? I would have told them to go with a foot controller that would have supported at least 0.95 amps. Because what happens sometimes is it causes that motor to race as it's sucking the electricity out of this foot controller as rapidly as the foot controller can supply it. And it causes you to have a little bit more challenge regulating speed with that machine. Does that make sense? So sometimes a student, or I should say sometimes a student, when you're in a manufacturing industry and you need to listen to other teachers, if they had listened to us and our reasoning, they probably would have gone with a foot controller that had a little bit more amperage tolerance. It's going to work, but the result could be, like I said in the last live stream, if you operate this foot controller with this machine over a long sustained period, we're talking like running, maybe like a full minute without pausing, as you're going around and around and around, kind of like I do when I'm sewing in a circle, the foot controller will start to heat up a little bit. It'll get a little bit warm. And under extreme circumstances, it could get hot. And under crazy circumstances, it could actually damage the foot controller because it's going to be trying to keep up with that motor and it just can't do it. It's like that final kick when you're running a race. You got nothing left, but you kick anyway, and you get to that finish line and you're just totally spent. So anyway, I don't want to dwell on this because Singer had a reason for doing it, but I think that they should have considered going with a higher amperage tolerance on the foot controller to better support this motor and to better allow that regulation of speed. Okay. All right. Enough is enough. I get it. But I want you all to understand that if you're looking at a replacement foot controller for one of your machines, make sure that that foot controller is rated as high as your motor or higher. Okay. All right. A lot of blah, 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 but I hope you got the point. All right. These are different lengths now because I cut that one off when I didn't feed it properly. And so it's a little bit harder to hold them straight. Now we're looking at the lock stitching on the back of this last stitch that we just did. And I'm going to stop using numbers. Otherwise, I'm going to confuse the audience. So we'll focus on these and just look at the stitches, and we'll just make sure we do all the other cams that we haven't done yet. So here's the lock stitching on the back. There's the lock stitching, whatever number we want to call that stitch. Get a little bit closer, see if we can do that. Yeah, when you think about the fact that a mechanism like this, I call it the reader finger, right? I call it the reader finger that has to be adjusted and calibrated just right so that it's going to read almost like Braille. It's going to read the bumps. It's going to read the bumps on these cams properly and execute the stitch according to the way that mechanism is supposed to do it. It takes a lot of effort to get it right. And it's the same thing on some of the FOF machines I've shown you with those little fine adjusters that when you take the top of, say, like a 332 off, it's got those little fine adjusters that have to be adjusted as well to read those cam impressions that are then fed to the machine to tell it what to do with the needle. But that's really what these bumps are doing, is these subtle little bumps are giving that machine a message on when to swing, how quickly to swing, and how to execute that stitch to perfection. And that's where I say, if you get one on eBay or if you get one on Etsy or Pinterest, if that mechanism hasn't been calibrated or if it's been altered, you may not get the results that you're getting here. So don't be disappointed. It's not the machine's fault. It's just that the machine hasn't been set up for success. Okay, does that make sense? I hope so. All right, so we've done this stitch now. Now I'm going to remove the stitches we've done since I totally goofed up the order of the cams. And I'm giving up on the numbers because the cams have one number. I'm calling them another number, and I'm just going to create a lot of confusion. So I'm going to pull the ones out that we've already done, and we'll go ahead and do the final cams that we have, and we'll go ahead and get this done. We'll get this done. And it looks like we've been running, how long have we been running? About an hour? Trying to see. I think we've been running about an hour. Where's my lapse time? I don't see my lapse time. Oh, way at the top now. YouTube has totally changed the order. YouTube has changed the order of how the screen looks. And so I'm having trouble finding things now that I could find before very easily. Very, very easily. But yeah, it's always a challenge, isn't it? It's always a bit of a challenge. Okay, I think I wanted to check something on the screen real quick just to make sure I've got it correct. All right. Yeah, hopefully, I see that our audience dropped substantially. I hope it didn't drop because I was confusing people with the numbers. I think Saturdays are just a real busy day, and they kind of pop in and they pop out as they can. And that's okay. That's okay. Maybe some of them will pop back again. Okay, so we've done this stitch. I'm double checking. Yep, we've done that one. We've done that one. We've done the arrow. Where's the arrow? Oh, I've got the arrow in the machine still. 3. And then we've done the building block one. That's this one down here. So I've got these 4 cams left, which includes, I believe, a standard zigzag, but we've got a scallop stitch. Looks like we got a 3-point zigzag. And then we have kind of an offset arrow stitch as well. So let me go ahead and remove the current cam we have, which is the one we just did. And we'll go ahead and move on to our final 4 stitch offs so we can go through all the cams that I got Jacob for this machine. Okay. And I'm not going to show you again by grabbing the camera. I just took this one out. This one right here. I'll put that back in the stack of ones we've done. And I took our stitch width all the way down to 0. And now I'll do this one here. This one looks like it's labeled cam number 6. I think it's cam 6. Could be 6 or 9. Let's hold it like that. I'm going to assume it's cam number 9. So you can see it like that. And that's the number right over there. Yeah, it's logical to hold it like this. So that would be cam number 9. We'll do cam number 9 next and see what we think of that stitch. And then we just have 3 stitches to do after that. Just 3 stitches after that. So again, as I'm taking this cam and I'm putting a new cam back in, I've got my stitch width down on 0 so that reader finger is retracted. It's not pressing into that cam stack. Got that lid closed. We'll go ahead and get our thread set back up, and we'll do this next stitch. on leather and also on cotton as well. Leather and cotton. Do the cotton first, and then we'll do the leather second. All right. Now I have to remember before I engage the foot control, I've got to take my stitch width now from 0 and take it back to 4. Otherwise, you'll be doing a weird looking straight stitch, a real short straight stitch, actually. All right, so let's do this next stitch and see what we think of this one. All right, here we go. Oh, I like this one a lot. This doesn't actually present the way I thought it would present. It looks a little bit different. Really quite lovely. It's almost like a, what do we call it, EKG? It's almost like an EKG stitch. It looks like a heartbeat. Yeah, I'll show it to you once we get done with the leather part. Yeah, really, really nice. Very, very nice. All right, let me do the leather one. And then we'll take a look at these side by side like we have done before. Okay. Okay, so we got about 3 to 4 ounces of genuine cowhide leather. We're going to do the same stitch on this now. We'll see how it presents. Again, different material, different density of material. And yeah, it's going to look a little bit different, but real close, real close. All right, here we go. Trying to make sure I don't over sew. This thing gets going and it's like a happy camper. All right. Yeah, it does present differently on here. This is cool. This is cool. So let's look at these side by side. And that'll give you an appreciation how you can have the same stitch pattern, the same setup, but as you switch between materials, the output is going to be just a little bit different. It's going to be just a little bit different. So I got to do this one kind of upside down so I can show you the top stitching at the same time. So this one over here, look on the camera. This one over here is the one we just did. This one over here, and then the other one on the inside right there. So look at this together. Yeah, it's quite lovely. You can appreciate, I'm trying to look over, I'm looking over my shoulder at the laptop so I can see if I'm actually showing you what I want to show you. But look at, even the joining points, you can see as you change materials because of the feed factor, the joining points between the stitch post points here, right there, we've got a little bit wider span where it fed a little bit more rapidly, a little bit more evenly with the cotton. Here it fed a little bit, it didn't move in the same way. It didn't move in the same way on the leather as it did on the cotton. Here it moved and created a little bit bigger gap between those joining points. Here it's a little bit tighter. And I didn't change the stitch length. It's the same stitch length, but it's just a matter of how that leather feeds versus how the cotton feeds, right? Yeah. Yeah, very, very nice. Different, but nice. Very, very nice. I like how the one on the cotton presents more. It's kind of has a little bit more of that drape to it, doesn't it? A little bit more of that drape. And that's why I don't just sew one material. You can see how it varies. It's kind of cool. Kind of cool. We'll turn it over. There's our lock stitching on our cotton. Now I have to turn it over and show you the lock stitching on the leather. Look at it like that. Yeah, very, very nice. So let's move on to our last three cams. One of them is going to be a zigzag, so I wouldn't really call it a decorative. I'd call it more of a utility type stitch. But let's go ahead and do these last three cams, and we'll go ahead and wrap up this live stream. I think we've been running about going an hour and 45 minutes or something like that. Looks like some of our people came back. That's kind of cool. Some of our folks circled back. Maybe they had to go pick up a Wendy's or something like that. And now they're back to join us for the last phases of this live stream. Okay, I'll put on a little bit of, I'm out of Irish music. I'll put on a little bit of ragtime. I never tire of ragtime music. All right, what I tried to do there is I tried to angle the camera so you could see kind of what I was doing. I'm repeating the same thing I've been doing over and over again. Every time we go to put a cam in, we're taking the stitch width down to 0, and then we return it back to 4 once that cam is inserted. And when we go to take that cam out that we've already sewn with, we always take that stitch width down to 0 again, so that reader finger is retracted. And then we take it back to 4 again once we get that new cam inserted. So this particular cam I'm doing now, I believe, let me see if I can see what it says again. I made note of what the number was, and then I screwed it back in. I think it's going to be cam number 2. Let me just double check. Yeah, so what I'm sewing on now is cam number 2. It's a good thing I'm not using my number because it'd be totally different. But we're going to do cam number 2 in the Type A series that we're using on this 328K. And we'll do it on leather first. Or excuse me, we'll do it on cotton first. And then we'll move over to the leather. And I should probably at some point check my bobbin because I didn't change the bobbin from the last live stream. I'm still sewing on that same bobbin that I had in the last time. And if someone remembers, what class bobbin do we use in this 328? What kind of bobbin are we using in this machine? Does anyone remember? Couple more questions. I covered this in the last live stream. What is the hook system in this machine? Is it a rotary hook system? Is it an oscillating hook system? Is it a horizontal hook system, or is it a vertical hook system? Those are some of the things I asked you in the last one, if you remember. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to type that in the live chat as well, if you're in the live chat right now and you want to type in what type of hook system, what kind of bobbin are we using in this machine? And again, if you want to reach out afterwards, if you jumped in and you participated, I'm happy to send you something fun. So yeah, go ahead and do that now. And I'm going to go ahead and sew this next stitch. All right, I think I've got everything lined up. There we go. One thing I haven't mentioned in this live stream is, and I've been doing it automatically, again, muscle memory, is before you launch on a sew-off like this, you always want to make sure that take-up arm is at the highest position. The take-up arm, again, is going to be this right here. Make sure that it's at highest position, and it's just beginning to do that down sweep. The best way to launch your machine to get the best results. Okay. All right, here we go. Oh, this is a fun one. I like this one a lot. Very nice stitch. Very, very nice stitch. We'll try it on leather now. We'll do it on leather. And yeah, we'll see what you think. It's fun going between different materials. You always get a slightly different display of that stitch. Slightly different display. Let's try it on leather now, see what we think. All right, same stitch, different material. About 3 to 4 ounces of genuine cowhide versus 2 layers of 100% cotton with a stiffener in between. Let's see how this stitch displays on this. All right, now I got it straight. Here we go. Yeah, very nice. I like it. I like it on both materials. I think I like it a little bit better on the cotton. A little bit better on the cotton. And again, if we were using a leather needle to sew this leather, it would also change the appearance of that stitching just slightly. Because again, that needle is going to react with the leather differently than our universal needle is. All right, let me do it like this. We'll look at all of these stitches in totality. But the ones that we just did, if I can get them lined up correctly, ones we just did is right here and then right here on the inside. So let's go over and look at these. Try to keep my fingers out of the way as best as I can. Yeah, very, very nice. The clarity and the spacing of the stitch is good. The presentation of the stitch is good. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer. Got to do everything backwards when you're looking in the camera. It's like looking in your rearview mirror. Yeah, very, very nice. Very nice. Let's turn it over. So we got our lock stitching for the cotton over here. Now we need to flip our leather over. We'll look at the lock stitching together. The latest stitch we did, which is going to be on the inside here by the cotton and by the outside on the leather. Let me see if I can get these lined up, at least semi-lined up. I'm going to kind of narrow the field a little bit and get us closer to the stitching we just did. There we go. That is some beautiful looking stitching. I think Jacob's going to have a lot of fun with these cams. I'm glad that I ordered them and got them from Arkansas. And I've got to show you that note from the seller as well. I meant to do that before, and I didn't do it. Yeah, that's a lovely, lovely stitch, the one we just did. That's it right there. Very, very pretty. And the leather one's a little bit harder to see because of that nap, isn't it? Yeah, very, very nice. So totality of the stitching, we've got some beautiful, this is our lock stitching again. You look at it right there, that's our lock stitching. And our top stitching, we've got to flip everything around here. Yeah, that's the top stitching. And our top stitching as well. So we just have 2 more cams left. 2 more cams. One is going to be only a zigzag because this machine, I explained this before, it's like the Swedish machines. You do not want to operate this machine and do a zigzag unless you have that zigzag cam in the machine. That zigzag cam, this one right here, which is labeled number 1, I think. Yeah, it looks like it's labeled number 1. This zigzag cam is going to set the swing boundaries for that needle. It's going to tell that needle how far to swing from left to right. If you don't have this cam in the machine and you move that lever, the stitch width lever, over to 4, the machine is going to respond mechanically, but it won't know what the boundaries are. And you're very likely going to end up hitting your throat plate, possibly even hitting your presser foot attachment because it's going to swing too wide. So whenever you're operating a machine like this that depends on a cam to generate that swing stitch, that zigzag stitch, if you're doing anything other than a straight stitch, you need to have that cam in there so that the machine knows what those boundaries are. Otherwise, you're going to damage your machine or you're going to scare yourself to death when that needle hits the throat plate for sure. So when we get to that phase, we're going to have to make sure that we put that cam in so when we do the zigzag, it knows what to do. Does that make sense? I hope it does. It's the same thing on the Swedish machines with those black tubular type cams that I've shown you numerous times on this channel. I tell you all the time, never operate a Swedish Beauty unless you have one of those cams in the back to tell it what those swing boundaries are. Okay? All right. A little bit more music. I'm going to drink a little bit more Diet Coke, and we'll get on our last cams, and we'll wrap this live stream up. Okay? All right, before I forget to do it again, we haven't done a live stream in a while since we actually presented Jacob's machine the last time a couple of weeks ago already. And again, like I explained earlier, if you weren't in the live stream earlier, Susie had eye surgery. I've had a little bit of illness as well, so just kind of thrown us off of our beat. So I'm getting into the beat again today, and I want to remember to do the things that I say I'm going to do. So when I got this box finally from Arkansas, it went missing, and then it showed up on the radar again, and then finally, I would say by the grace of God and the persistence of the postal people, it showed up here at the workshop up in the mountains. And it was very nicely packaged. Everything was wrapped well inside of the box. And inside of the box was this thank you note. I didn't expect to get it. I used to do this when I was selling on eBay, but a lot of the sellers don't. They just throw it into a bag or a box and they dump it in the mail. And that's the end of their relationship. They got their money. That's all they care about. But this seller is different. They had this beautiful thank you card on the inside. This is the envelope itself. And then the card itself here. And also handwritten. Look at that. Handwritten note inside of the card. I'll let you read it. And they call themselves Big E's House. Big E's House. That's kind of clever, isn't it? You can see that in the shot. But what a nice touch. What a nice touch. In today's day and age with text messaging and SMS and all the other junk we got, to get a handwritten thank you note from someone, and I spent money to get these cams, but I didn't spend hundreds of dollars. And for them to take time to follow up with me as they did while this package was missing, and then to provisionally refund the money because they were unhappy that I was unhappy, and then to finally get the package and to have a handwritten thank you note. That is the way it's supposed to be done. That's classy. So my kudos to Big E's House, and I would definitely buy from them again. I would definitely buy from them again to support a customer like Jacob in getting what he needs to enjoy this machine to the fullest. I mean, that's really what sewing machines are supposed to do. They're supposed to, every time we sit down to them, they're supposed to delight us. They're supposed to, every time we sit down, we should sit down not with agony, but a sense of excitement of what am I going to create today? How is this machine going to dazzle me? And these cams and the attachments and all the other goodies that Big E's made sure finally got to me is going to give Jacob that extra edge of just being delighted and having fun with this 328K. That's cool. That's super cool. Beautiful, beautiful. So this is I always make up names for stitches. I think I've called this stitch an eyebrow stitch, and a lot of other people call it a scallop type stitch. But whatever you call it, whether you call it an eyebrow stitch, or maybe it looks like the waves of the ocean almost, as you're looking at it right there, kind of looks like the waves of the ocean. Whatever it is, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to go ahead and line these up so we can look at the top stitching first, both on the leather and on the cotton as well. And we can look at the totality of the stitching we've done too. All of the decorative ornamental type cams that I would call them, we've done at this point. The only cam we have left is the zigzag cam, which I'll do as a final thing on here. And then we'll be done. And we'll have a chance to celebrate the closure of this machine that I believe Jacob is going to call Sharon. He's going to call this machine either Grandma Sharon or Sharon. And Sharon even has kind of a Scottish feeling to it, doesn't it? I know Shannon has more of a Scottish feeling, but Sharon, let's use our imagination that maybe there's a little bit of Scottish that was in Grandma Sharon that inspired Jacob to want to do this legacy gesture of getting a sewing machine and taking it up as a brand new trade to honor his grandmother's memory. Okay, so all of that blah, blah, blah. Let me see if I can line this up now. Finally, the top stitching first and the scallop or the eyebrow stitch, if you will, on the far outside here on the leather, on the inside on the cotton right there. We'll take a look at those, and then we'll look at all the stitching together as well. So I'll see if I can get a little bit closer so you can see those stitches. Very, very nice. So our top stitching, I'm going to flip it over. We'll get our lock stitching displayed just like that. So now we're looking at the back of the leather, the back of the cotton, and we'll take a look at those eyebrow stitches or scallops as well. There you can see it on the leather, displaying very real nicely. Let's do that. We'll do this, get real close. So I don't know what you call it. You might call it the sea waves or something. It almost looks like waves on the sea, doesn't it? There's our scallop or our eyebrow stitch over there on the cotton. Very, very nice. So our lock stitching with our final decorative ornamental stitch, the stitching has just been absolutely spot on. We haven't had to make any tension adjustments. And again, that benefits us if no one answered the question. This particular machine has a horizontal hook system, and it's an oscillating hook system. So the horizontal oscillating hook system is one of my favorite hook systems as far as delivering that thread and delivering it evenly each and every time. Because it's operating like a pendulum going back and forth, it's not making a full circle like a rotary hook system. It tends to manage the thread and managing the sewing experience with a lot less complications. So whether you're looking at stitching like this or stitching like this, I've got to flip it around again. There we go. You're looking at stitching that is about as near perfect as you can get. If we were working with a rotary hook system, especially a rotary hook system that's vertical, you tend to run into more issues. Rotary hook systems that are vertical, because of that, it sounds ridiculous, but because of that gravity factor, almost like turning that bottle upside down and that liquid trying to escape as gravity is pulling, but the air is trying to escape at the same time, it creates a resistance. A horizontal oscillating hook system is probably going to be one of the least problematic hook systems that you can have on any sewing machine. And the evidence is right here with what you see with what we've already delivered on Jacob's machine. Just absolutely spot on. So consistent, so reliable, so headache-free, so maintenance-free. It just does a beautiful job nearly every single time. once in a while you'll get a worn needle, or you'll get static charged thread, especially as we're moving on to winter into spring. And static can also create havoc on your machine as well. So remember that tip of having a little spray bottle of water. And if you've got a padded carpeted surface under your machine, move your machine to the side. Just mist a little bit of water on that surface where your machine is going to be sitting. Don't soak it down, just mist it lightly. And do the same thing with the carpeting. If you have carpeting in your sewing suite, put a little bit of water down on that as well, mist it down, and you'll have a lot more problem-free sewing with your machine, especially if it's not a horizontal oscillating hook system like this 328K. Okay, beautiful stitching. We're going to put our last cam in, which is a basic good old zigzag cam, but we have to have it in there to set those swing boundaries. And I'm going to wish you all a great rest of the weekend. If you don't remember, this is where we spring forward. So make sure either tonight before you go to bed or tomorrow morning early, you turn your clock ahead. Otherwise, you're going to be late for church or late for wherever you're going Sunday morning, because we're going to spring ahead tonight or early tomorrow. I think some people say do it at 2 a.m. Who the heck wants to get up at 2 a.m. and turn their clocks ahead, right? Especially as my father, God, I miss my dad every day. He passed away back in 2017, and Dad had over 100 clocks in his house. Can you imagine Dad on daylight savings time trying to adjust the time on all those clocks? I think he started a week ahead, to be honest with you. And once you're retired, does it matter if you show up somewhere an hour late or an hour early? You know, unless it's a doctor appointment, maybe. Yeah, it doesn't matter once you're retired. So, but anyway, God bless you all. Thank you to the leaders for taking such good care of the family. Thank you to all of our new friends, even if you didn't step out and join us in the live chat, for joining us today. We're so honored to have you here. We're so privileged to count you as part of the family. And thank you to all of those that ended up leaving at some point and coming back, or all the people that joined us late, because I think we had about 400 some people that kind of popped back in and said, hey. So take care, everybody. God bless. I'll do this final sew off and leave as you need to leave. Let's see, what kind of music should I end with? What kind of music? You know what? I don't know if we had any birthdays or not announced, but I'll do the birthday song one more time to honor anyone that had a birthday in February or has a birthday in March. Happy, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, whoever you are. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Just a good old-fashioned zigzag. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Yeah, happy birthday. All right, zigzag on the leather. Here we go. That was easy. Ha ha! Yeah, baby. From the previous live stream.